Good morning, everyone. The time is 9:07. Today is Tuesday, August 25th, 2026. Welcome to the Lane County Board of Commissioners meeting. As you can see, we are now in the BCC conference room. We had some technical difficulties in Harris Hall, so thanks everybody for being flexible and making it up here. Welcome. Mr. Moker-Heisky, good morning.
Good morning.
Council Bovet.
Good morning.
Do we have any adjustments to the agenda?
No, none from staff.
Okay. Do we have any emergency business?
No.
With that, I will let you open up employee recognition.
Thank you, Chair, Commissioners. Good morning. Always a pleasure to recognize our employees and the services that we provide to the community. This one today is a little bittersweet. Bitter because the program we're recognizing has ended because of changes in federal rules. Sweet because of the incredible work over the past 16 years that the FireWise program and the staff who have led that program provided to the community. So we have at the table here with us, you all know Keir Miller. This is our team, planning team from Land Management Division that has led this program. Keir Miller, Jared Bowder, Benjamin Zublin, Cameron Anderson, and Lindsay Eichner. I was talking to Lindsay, who's our planning director, at this moment before the meeting started, and she said without this program, without this FireWise program, she would likely not be a county employee because she was hired on after an initial layoff in 2008, 2009, was hired on to this program. So we're recognizing the FireWise program that began in 2010 and for the past 16 years has provided funding for property owners to harden their homes against risk of wildfire. Funding supported projects like creating defensible space, planting fire-resistant landscapes, replacing wood shake roofs, and wood siding with less combustible materials and similar improvements. During this time, we've been fortunate to have several talented planners in land management to lead the grant program and to work directly with our residents. You see those that are with us today, and there are some that are not with us today who have been involved in the program and done outstanding work. So a few of the highlights of this program over the past 16 years, staff conducted thousands of individual home site assessments across the county, providing customized guidance on reducing ignition potential and increasing home survivability during wildfire events. Staff organized and attended scores of community outreach events, including the spring and fall home and garden shows, the Lane County Fair, the various neighborhood meetings and local granges and other community venues. FireWise staff successfully applied for and received a $500,000 community wildfire risk reduction grant from the Oregon State Fire Marshal. These funds supported defensible space, development for low-income residents, and fuel reduction work on high-risk rural properties. Staff also supported a robust public engagement program, including TV and radio ads, direct mailers, billboards, fire-resistant plant raffles, and other communications and activities aimed at increasing awareness of wildfire mitigation practices and incentive programs. In total, the FireWise program provided 1,071 individual grant awards. The average grant award amount was $4,616, and there was a total amount of $4,944,069, almost $5 million in funding that was issued to Lane County and our residents. So we're recognizing this team for their passion to serve. And of course, the need for these programs has not gone away. It's just unfortunate that the rules of the federal funding that supported this program have changed. We will work to find other ways and grant programs to try to support these things, but we want to recognize the incredible staff that have led this program and supported our residents and communities over the past 16 years. And I'd ask Keir Miller, who's led this program for many years, if he'd want to add any comments.
Sure. Thanks, Steve, and good morning, Commissioners. Yeah, our staff has done an outstanding job with this program over the years. I also want to recognize the Oregon State Fire Marshal on both our East and West Lane, Department of Forestry folks who really supported the program as well and been our partners in this really important work. As Steve mentioned, this program started around 2009, right after the big fallout of the housing bust, and that was it was a great program at that time. It incentivized folks to go out and work on their homes and develop And it was at a time where the risk of wildfire wasn't really as recognized in the county. And I recall when we would do meetings and do outreach back in the day, people would refer to this as the asbestos forest on the west side of Lane County. And it was great that we had so many years to promote the program and see so many folks take meaningful steps to make their homes safer, because obviously we're in different times now. So it's been a good program. Staff has been very dedicated. In land management, we often have to enforce regulations, and this has been a nice part of our program where we're able to actually incentivize the things we want to see and provide funding to the community, and it's been successful. I really appreciate staff. So, thank you.
Lindsay, anyone else? Okay, Chair, we'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I'll let my colleagues go, but this is it's hard to hear. This is a great program. Commissioner Wellborn.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it is a great program. Firewise ending is kind of a sunsetting thing that we didn't really expect nor want. I mean, we live in an area where, forest management and the edges of our forests and our rural communities are at risk a lot of times. And so having this program to educate them for the barriers and the things necessary for them to not only have their property survive, but ultimately this is a program that saves lives, and it has saved lives and will continue in the future. So I'm grateful for your participation, for your persistence and professionalism. Thank you for working with our government agencies, and I'm sure because of the success of this program and the heart and soul that you've put into it, it's going to become part of the culture of Land Management Division to continue these focuses for having people guard their properties in a rural area, have F2 zone and that kind of thing with defensible spaces, so that we can all thrive as a community. So well done. Thank you for doing this, and hopefully we'll continue in some form or fashion in the future.
Jared, do you mind clicking on? Oh, Jessica got it. Thank you. Commissioner Farr.
Thank you, Chair. When important work is in the rearview mirror, it doesn't go away. When you leave your impression in a place that you've worked, whether it be a government agency, private industry, whatever it may be, you're remembered forever because of the work that you've done. The legacy that you leave behind, just because the program is over, doesn't mean the program doesn't go on. And it really is disheartening to hear the end of the program, but it's encouraging to know the work that you've done in the meantime, that it will not go away, that really through the years, and look what it brought us Lindsay, for crying out loud. And Lindsay, I don't think you went away in the near future. But that being said, you've saved lives. You don't even know the names of the lives that you've saved through the years. It's incredible the work you've done. And again, it's not going away. Your thumbprints are all over fire protection in Lane County forever and ever. Thank you for that. Cameron, Benjamin, thank you. Everybody else, I see you more regularly, but Cameron, Benjamin, thank you.
Sure. Well, just to echo what my colleagues have said so far and likely to come, and just appreciate the work and hope that future administrations or other sources are found for this work. And the beauty of the work is, unlike some programs, once you help a homeowner protect their investment, harden, let's say, new roofing material, which these grants have done, then it's done. So it's not like an ongoing service that if you don't keep providing it for that one homeowner, they lose the benefit. So the infrastructure, the more fire-safe infrastructure that this program's been able to support will live on, and that's really important. And it's really interesting, right, to look back from 2009 to where we are now, how much more critical the work is, how much more aware people are, but how much more strapped homeowners and property owners are to have the resources to do this. And how you put that plus that plus that equals cut the program is a little mind-boggling to me, but that's why I'm hopeful somewhere down the line resources will be found to reinstate it. So, and I'm glad that we've been able to implement the program with existing staff. So this isn't one of those, the funding went away, so the program goes away, so the staff goes away. And it's also just another example of how many different hats many people at Lane County wear, all the different ways that they are improving lives and serving people in Lane County, even if it's not what their primary role or title would suggest. So thank you all very much for the work.
Vice Chair.
Thank you. I very much appreciate all that you've done over the years. I've been able to do ride-alongs with folks that were going and checking out people's houses where they've done these. And that was really educational for me. I appreciate doing that because, not everybody was able to take advantage of every type of program within Firewise, but even just some of them made a huge difference in their homes. And for them, especially rebuilding upriver after the fire, and seeing them be able to take advantage of some of these programs to help them rebuild was really meaningful. And also they felt a lot more secure in their homes. I think it's such a shame that we are not seeing this program blossom into something even more robust and instead seeing it come to an end. I think that's a detriment to our community, and we should be finding ways in which to expand the program as a whole. There are many other ways that it could be utilized, so as long as we continue to advocate on behalf of homeowners, I'm hopeful that in the future, perhaps we can get a more robust program and easier for homeowners to apply for it.
Yes. I echo all these things. This is one of the programs I was probably the most passionate about. I mean, I'm sure Commissioner Vice Chair Buck was also, but it's along with what everybody else said, our staff did such a great job of helping people navigate this process. I know a lot of people came into it and I would handle a lot of phone calls with, well, that doesn't make sense. And then they'd meet with staff and then you would explain why this is so important. And after I talked with Jared a couple of times, after you would go and look at the property and decide what needs to happen. And when they were done, the almost just the relief that these constituents, residents felt was priceless. And that $5 million that was spent on it, I mean, think how much that could save in the long run. I mean, this is what we need to keep touting when we go back after this program and do everything we can sitting here to get it renewed. So thanks everybody. It was a great program, and we're sad to see it paused, but we're going to go after it and get it back.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, so next up we have public comments, and when it's your term, if you come and sit at that chair where Devin's at, your 3 minutes will start. Speakers will be taken in the order in which they signed up and will be limited to 3 minutes. And as of right now, we have one online. So first up, we have A. Frost.
I'd just like to reiterate everything you said about the Firewise program. It makes no sense that it's dropped. I live in Glenwood. I was trying to get rock wool and metal on my building. Trying to be safe about it. Studied architect. I lived in Blue River, or rather had a blacksmith shop in Blue River. So I understand. I know a lot of people on the river who have been having a heck of a time getting planning and stuff like that in some cases. But meanwhile, we have properties down in town where they're just committing massive violations. Good faith management, about 20 buildings or 20 remodels, whole bunch a year, no planning permit, no permits, nothing. Glenwood, there's probably, I think, 10, 15 buildings that have been redone for immediate sale or rental. No permits. No one cares. Now, the same with the Mackenzie property. The fine structure that's been set up to regulate these firms would have provided, from good faith management, I believe, would have got you $6 million. That's a fair whack. Now, I'm not sure what the fine structure would be on the place at Mackenzie, but I suspect you're getting into those sort of numbers again. We've got contractors that are basically invalidating the insurance policies of everyone in Lane County because The property next door that I complained about for 6 years should have insulation, bringing it up to code. You'll at some stage give a program to help insulate houses. You'll probably give one to them. But the taxpayers shouldn't be paying for it. The people of Lane County shouldn't be paying for it because that developer that sold it, he should be paying for it. He's the one who's obliged by law. And if you wonder what law it is that gives you the 10.025-35 Building Code and Conformance says that no property shall be permitted. Shall, under US law, is not debatable. No property shall be permitted if all the permits were not given and granted and applied for in advance. So I spent 6 years trying to tell you how to help your finances and to make your place safe. Fire safe, environmental future safe. I'm not just an angry Muggins. I went to the Oxford School of Architecture. I did learn about this stuff. Full admission, I didn't finish the course. But equally so, I'm not a Muggins. But you're getting mugged by these contractors every day for millions a year. And so I thank you for listening. And by the way, this is a lot better format than down in that other Harris School. I mean,
Thank you, Mr.
we're on the
Frost.
same level. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Next up, we have Chuck Arford.
That's right.
Good morning, Chuck Arford, Lane County resident and Lane County retiree. Thank you for continuing to hold this space or a space open for public comment. Kind of along with Firewise, I have testimony today, but it's rather grim. It's based on an article called "The Gargantuan Lie That's Collapsing the World's Climate." The lie is, when it comes to climate change, we have more time. Climate change is real, but not that urgent. Just keep doing what you're doing. The lie is accepted by most Americans and has halted meaningful climate action. The evidence that this is false is all around us. Just watch the news. An award-winning professor at Oxford and Cambridge said the next 5 years will determine the fate of mankind. That was 5 years ago. And the record and data are crystal clear. Our Earth has crossed the critical, catastrophic, do not cross 1.5 degrees Celsius warming barrier. With the current super El Nino, we will most assuredly hit 1.7 Celsius next year. And with all these new data centers, it's pedal to the metal towards 2 degrees Celsius. The medical journal Lancet estimates that millions of people die each year from climate change and the burning of fossil fuels. A group of actuarians and risk managers project that hitting 2 degrees Celsius before 2050, 24 years from now, will result in the deaths of 2 billion people and a 25% reduction in global GDP. Because scientists have detected an unmistakable and sharp increase in the rate of global warming, the rate has almost doubled. The data now suggests we will be close to 3 degrees centigrade warmer by 2050, an apocalyptic scenario where 4 billion people will die, GDP will decrease by 50%, and civilization will collapse. We're speeding toward the climate cliff with our kids, my kids, your kids, in the back seat with no safety belt or airbags. Maybe if you have enough wealth, instead of a college fund, you can invest in an elaborate bunker to increase survival for a bit longer. But hey, that's capitalism. A system so strong and mighty it destroys everything we know and love. But it's worse, it's crony capitalism. Last year, fossil fuel companies received direct subsidies of about $825 billion globally. Just ask AI. Then the fossil fuel corporations spend billions in campaign donations to right-wing candidates and right-wing think tanks. One of those American think tanks, the Heartland Institute, once launched a campaign comparing climate scientists and proponents with mass murderers. We now ask, who is responsible for the ongoing carnage and upcoming collapse? I will email the commission with links to relevant articles, and I'm happy to dialogue online. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your public comment. Next up, we have Daryl R. We have a Daryl Rothridge. Maybe he didn't make it. Probably in the hallway somewhere. Ms. Gibb, do we have anybody online?
Yes, Chair, we do. For those joining us virtually, if you would like to give public comment, please raise your hand now. I do see a hand raised. Sean Maxwell, we have unmuted you.
Thank you.
Would you like to be on camera for your comments?
No, thank you.
All right, you can begin when ready.
Good morning, Commissioners. I am here again regarding the Heilman Lane access issue affecting Mr. Davis, an elderly Lane County resident who has owned this property since 1991. After years of trying to resolve this, the issue is no longer complicated. Lane County's own master road file shows that in 1939, the Lane County Court entered an order establishing road of public easement for Morris Coon Road, number 1164. The proceedings included a petition, survey, viewers, assessment of damages, and a final court order establishing a 20-foot wide road of public easement. The purpose stated in that proceeding was to provide ingress and egress to the Coon property. The deed records further show that the land now identified as tax lot 1000 was already owned by Morris and Nellie Coon before the 1939 proceedings. So, the county is not being asked to grant a new access right. The evidence indicates that the county court already established that right in 1939. Yet, County Council continues to send agreements characterizing this access as a county permission that can be withdrawn. That distinction matters enormously. A property right is not the same thing as a revocable permission. In my meeting with County Council Emily Vario, she told me, quote, "Most people just sign these forms." That statement concerns me because most people may not have spent years researching an 87-year-old road file, tracing deeds back to 1912, or discovering that signing a seemingly routine county form could potentially be used to characterize an existing property right as something granted at the county's discretion. I'm not accusing anyone of criminal conduct, but I am saying plainly that repeated drafts I have received appear designed to convert an established access right into a revocable contractual permission. For an elderly property owner who has owned this land since 1991, that is unacceptable. Oregon law recognizes that easement rights generally follow the benefited property when ownership changes. And Oregon cases involving these statutory access roads recognize that successor parcels can continue to benefit from the established right. So I am asking the board give staff clear direction. There are two reasonable solutions. Provide Mr. Davis and his authorized representatives dependable key access without requiring him to surrender, waive, or redefine the underlying access right, or move or remove the gate so it no longer blocks access to his property. It is time for Lane County to recognize the right its own county court established and resolve this permanently. Thank you.
Thank you. Sean, can I ask, are you logged on twice?
No, I'm not.
We have a second logon from Sean Maxwell. I'm just going to check to make sure. Nope, it's no longer there. Chair, that concludes the queue. I'll return it to you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Gibb. That will conclude our public comments. We will move to the consent calendar. All items listed here are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent calendar and will be considered separately.
Chair, I'll move the consent calendar, move approval of the consent calendar for August 25th, 2026.
Second.
We have a motion made by Vice Chair to approve the consent calendar for August 25th, 2026, seconded by Commissioner Lovell. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Chair, may I interrupt?
Yes, please.
I'm not exactly sure what's going on with the online queue. I have someone that keeps returning and dropping off, I would like to investigate if that's all right with you.
Yes.
This was for public comment.
Oh, okay, sure. Would you like to take a second?
Yes, thank you.
Did you say?
Still have one person logged into the queue for public comment. If you would like to give public comment, please unmute yourself now.
Am I unmuted?
Yes.
Good. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Dan Davis, and I've owned the property at the end of Heilman Lane since 1991. Since 2015, Lane County actions have effectively blocked my access to my own property. That is now more than a decade of dealing with a problem that should have been resolved long ago. And I thought it was resolved long ago. Before 2015, I had access. Since then, I have been forced to deal with changing requirements, key restrictions, and county agreements simply to reach land I own. I'm not asking Lane County to grant me any new right. The county's own records show that in 1939, the county court established Morris Coon Road and gave it a number, 1164, now incorporated with Heilman Lane, as a road of public easement. The stated purpose was to provide ingress and egress to the Coon property, now identified as formerly Lot 1000, formerly incorporated into the whole Coon property. The deed records show that the land now known as 1000 was already owned by Morris Coon and Nellie Coon, his surviving wife, before the road was established. What concerns me is that after blocking my access since 2015, the county is now trying to make that access dependent on agreements that describe it as county permission that can be withdrawn. This is from the county council. If the county believes that this easement was legally vacated or extinguished in some way, and being a property owner, I should have been notified, then I ask you to produce the order that did it, because I don't recall receiving it. If no such order exists, then the county should stop blocking an established access right. I'm asking the board to resolve this permanently, either provide me and my authorized representative, that includes my son, John Davis, who can vouch for the fact that I have not passed on to the great beyond, depends on access requiring me to surrender or weaken my rights or remove the gate so it no longer blocks access to my property. I repeat, I have owned this land since 1991 and have been dealing with block access since 2015, and I might add before that, but it was resolved before that, and 10 years plus is long enough. Please direct County Council and any others with an interest or involved in any way to resolve this once and for all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair, for allowing me to return to our online queue. It was just unclear to me if we had an additional person ready to testify. And that concludes our public comment. Thank you.
No, thank you for being thorough, and I figure with this morning's start, that's about par for the course, right? Okay, next up, we have county administration discussion onboarding new commissioners.
Did you vote on the consent calendar? I missed
Yeah,
it. Okay, yeah, I did. Okay, great.
Did you gavel it? But I didn't hear you say passes.
Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
You probably did.
Thank you, Chair. So really excited to present this item to you today, and also to have Laura Holtgrave and Tanya Ellis, along with Judy Williams at the table. You don't often get to hear a presentation from Laura and Tanya, who've done the bulk of the work on this, and so we're really excited to have them at the table. So today's presentation is going to share with you the revised Lane County Board of Commissioners onboarding plan and to seek feedback from commissioners before we launch that plan. The revisions are based on a goal that the board set for the county administrator recently. And the purpose of the plan is to provide new commissioners with clear direction and resources to ensure a smooth transition to county government. So just a little bit of background, the plan was revised using the International City County Management Association's resources and their shared governance model to implement best practices. I believe Tanya attended a conference and went to several sessions that were focused on this topic to get information. We've also made sure that the plan aligns with Lane County's mission, vision, values, and strategic priorities. And the plan includes an enhanced training timeline for a phased-in approach for onboarding. You'll notice in the packet, in addition to the memo and the presentation, you have 2 documents. The first is an 8-page commissioner onboarding plan, and that has 5 different categories to it: pre-boarding, orientation, mentorship, job-specific training, feedback, and evaluation. So that sort of talks about, here's the overarching plan for orientating new commissioners. And then the second document is a, I believe, 220-page manual. That is the elected officials orientation manual. I think that was probably 2 to 3 times the size before Tanya and Laura and Judy got their hands on it and really did a great job of streamlining all that. But that is intended to be a comprehensive document for new commissioners to have access to all of the key documents that they may need. And there's also a schedule in here that they'll walk through, a really robust schedule of training that happens over a period of time. In the past, we've done it, a couple of swearing in trainings and then some tours and orientations. This provides, I think, we all think, a much more comprehensive orientation for new commissioners. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Tanya.
Good morning, Chair Sidiga, Commissioners. Today, we are presenting a revised Commissioner Onboarding Plan. The revised onboarding plan provides a structured introduction into county government, which will help newly elected commissioners build a strong foundational knowledge and build confidence as they transition into their role. By strengthening orientation and training, this initiative supports a smoother transition into county leadership and promotes effective, informed participation in county governance. So today we're going to go over the components. We have a new website. We'll go over that in just a second. We have a new commissioner onboarding plan. We've revised the officials orientation manual, and then we have County 101 and County 201. So the website, there's a screenshot on the right-hand side, and this is a resource hub for individuals considering running for office, as well as current commissioners seeking guidance, tools, and information to help them navigate their roles. So that's something new that lives underneath the Board of County Commissioners webpage. Judy's up next.
And then I'm going to talk through, as you had heard, there's kind of 2 key documents. One is an 8-page, just kind of an overarching summary that won't get into the depths of the 200-ish page. Laura will talk a little bit about that, but essentially we wanted to break this down into something a little bit digestible, and a lot of it incorporates what we have typically done over the years, but also through the years, we've been asking for your feedback as well, and so we've incorporated what we've heard from you. So as Steve and Tanya had mentioned, there's 5 categories, and this is the bluish, grayish document, the smaller one, split into 5 kind of key categories. The pre-boarding is really that early work, early communication with both candidates and those that have been elected. Doing some things like office visits, talking about office transition, HR paperwork, kind of overview of what a typical board meeting looks like. The second phase is orientation, so really the swearing in, that first board meeting, walking through what to expect and what are those key elements. Some trainings like public meetings law, ethics, safety protocols. The next 3 are really kind of elements that are woven throughout the commissioner transition and the term as well of office. So that's mentorship, job-specific training, and then feedback. And again, as the county administrator mentioned, this is a lot of what we've seen based on research and what other jurisdictions are doing in terms of onboarding elected officials. So the mentorship is really touching on early on and seeing what might work best for each commissioner, and then revisit it after a few months and just try and have some of those conversations and see if we can have some matches. The fourth element, job-specific training, this is probably the bulk of the document and corresponding document. So we have this draft, and again, it's in your document. It's really kind of a checklist of what to expect and as a timeline. So we've heard from you over the years, really stagger out the training if we can, not just give you everything in the first or second meeting, but so we've taken time to really, here's what you can expect in January, here's what you can expect in February. Things like you have 3 employees under you, supervisor training, basics on what to expect in terms of performance evaluations and whatnot. The other items are, quasi-judicial training, land use 101, labor and relations and benefits information. A lot of those that you have had, but really just trying to be purposeful and mindful of when we roll those out and when we bring those to commissioners for training. And then the 5th category is really the feedback and evaluation. So these are ideas on what you might want to highlight in the beginning that you want to check in with yourself on. Again, these are from what we've seen in other jurisdictions. So just some questions to check in at either like 3, 6, 12-month cycles to reflect on. So those are the high level of the Commissioner Onboarding Plan, and then Laura's going to talk about the larger document.
Okay, so the next component of the onboarding plan includes the elected officials orientation manual, which includes 9 sections. Section 1 is an overview of county functions and programs and staff support. Section 2 is a guide provided by the Oregon Government Ethics Commission regarding Oregon ethics law, and they'll also provide 2 trainings for you during the year that many of our staff take as well. Section 3 includes the Lane County Charter and links to Lane Code, Lane Manual, and the Administrative Procedures Manual. Section 4 is an overview of the Board of Commissioners' roles and rules of conduct, which also is part of the training plan that Judy talked about. Section 5 covers important key Lane County policies, just to bring them to your awareness sooner than later. Section 6 is an overview of travel, credit cards, social media, and mail. Section 7 includes the Lane County budget and the Lane County strategic plan. Section 8 contains a list and description of committees and agencies that the Board of Commissioners participate in. And Section 9 contains acknowledgement forms used to confirm that training was received. Newly electeds will receive the manual electronically prior to the first board meeting, and many of these sections, again, will be covered in the training sessions noted on the onboarding plan.
All right, the next component is County 101. In April of the commissioner election year, commissioner candidates are invited to a general overview of Lane County. This is a time to meet with the county administrator and department directors, and some topics covered are the county's budget and strategic plan. And then County 201, in November of the commissioner election year, the elected commissioner candidate is invited to an in-depth county overview. This provides a time to meet with each department director to receive an overview of their department. The commissioner onboarding plan is also discussed.
So that's just a very brief highlight of what we have laid out. And again, I wanted to recognize Laura and Tanya's work. I think the bulk of the document used to be 500-600 pages, a lot of material. And so we really took a lot of effort to, weed out what we didn't need, put in a lot of links. There's a lot of active things that we want it to be more of a working document. So they did a tremendous amount of work getting that up to shape. And I think that combined with kind of the overarching idea of what to expect with timelines, that's what we were hoping to present to you and then to get feedback. I think our thought was we weren't going to come back and adopt this through like a consent item later on. I think we really want to keep it a working living document that we update as we hear from you. So that's our intent, and it would be one thing that we put back up on the website, as Tanya mentioned. So we have a couple quick final things. We've incorporated some of the things that you've addressed over the years, and again, I say years, it's been it's a challenge to think through all of the things and package this together into something that would work well. So it has taken a little bit of time, but we've tried to get that feedback from you, and things like an emergency management overview. So is one of the things that you all mentioned. So we've wove that in here, just things like an emergency operations center, EOC, what to expect for a new commissioner coming on board, and when we have an emergency, and just to have that awareness ahead of time. Some of the other things that you had recommended were, again, staggering the training so it's not too much at one time. Another item that you had called out earlier was, taking a little bit of time, perhaps like 6 months or so into your term before looking at the strategic plan again. So I think what we've typically done is when there's a new board, new commissioners, we like to revisit the strategic plan and see if that still meets with the priorities of the commissioners. And so we want to give a little bit of time to do that. So we've incorporated that into the timeline. So we're hoping that this incorporates a lot of what you were looking for and what you might have wished you had potentially had when you were coming on board, but we're also open to any feedback on how to make this better. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely. Amazing work. Commissioner Trigger.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the work. And it's great to see you folks in front of the camera. You are busy toiling behind all the time, but it's great to have you at the table. Thanks for all your work on this. As a commissioner who joined in the middle of COVID, this looks incredible. I would like to go through this, even all these years in, just for the benefit of it. It looks great. I think it'll be one of the, I appreciate the idea of keeping it alive so that it's iterative, and as people interact with it, we get the feedback on where it needs to be retooled. I noticed mention of Association of Oregon Counties, County College, so just as it fills out in content, thinking about how to align with those topics when they put out their syllabus so that it's amplifying, or so that it's staggering with the information so that new commissioners get the information more than once on a particular topic. I'm not sure which is better, but just noting that. One other thing I noticed is it might be useful to have something in a sort of timeline or calendar or by month style, because there's certain things that follow a predictable cadence around budget. We have Board of Health twice a year updates, homelessness services updates quarterly. There's certain things that are in fit team. There are things that we know they don't just come up as they come up. They come up on a routine schedule or cadence. That might be a useful, just quick sheet to look at by month, what can be expected. And the only other two things that are really more for us to figure out when and how to have this conversation, but somehow belongs in there, is the two pieces are committees. What are all the committees, what the difference between mandated and not, what the function and role, and how we determine committee assignments, because we really carry really different loads in terms of number of committees and how much work any particular committee might be. So something about committee work, I'm not sure what, would be probably a helpful piece. We kind of jump right into that the first meeting of the year, and I know when it was my first meeting, I was like, I don't know how to know. So we might want to consider the cadence of that. If people have their sea legs a little bit before assigning committees, and then similarly, and again, this is really a topic for us as colleagues, the role of leadership of chair and vice chair. What the function of those two roles is, because on our board, it's in our charter what that function is, and how we determine it. There are some bodies where it's just a given that the vice becomes the chair, and some it's not, and some it's sort of habit or practice, but not standard. So those are just things that are probably need more thought, but probably that's for us to do that more thinking, not to ask you to write it up, but I just wanted to note it. Yeah, thank you. Wonderful work, and good job paring that big document way down. Really appreciate it. Thanks. Thank you, Chair.
Absolutely. Commissioner Farr.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you for that, Commissioner Trieger, particularly the committee's work and some of the other things that, this is an extensive list that you provided. And there are a couple of additions that can be plugged in. You know, Judy, you're the only person in this room that was here when I came on board. There are other people in the organization, but you're the only person in the room. And you remember, there was no orientation. Madeline Zeich took me aside for about 45 minutes and kind of showed me where the toilets were. I knew that, but then we went through a pretty extensive reconstruction upstairs, and so everything was disjoint. And since then, we've had 6 new county commissioners, half of which didn't even have previous elective experience. So you have people coming on board who don't have any understanding of how not only the county works, but being an elected official, other than what they've achieved, what they've gained along the way. This is a tremendous asset, going to be a tremendous asset to the future county commissioners in order for them to hit the ground running. You know, the first hour on the job is the most important hour on the job. And for me, looking back in retrospect, if it weren't for you and Deanie Leak and Christine Moody, I don't know what I'd have done, you know, because it was really difficult. And you didn't have a checklist. You know, it was just what you did naturally and as a part of your work that helped me to become oriented. And so this really is beyond wonderful. The work that's gone into this is tremendous. And it probably took a couple hours, didn't it? So, you know, that was tongue firmly planted in cheek when I said that. The work that went into this is amazing. And I'll look around the room at the faces, as Commissioner Trieger said, the people that normally aren't sitting in this meeting who are there, they're not sitting in the meeting. Thanks for the work that's gone into this. Not thanks for me, but thanks for the future commissioners and thank you for future boards, because this will live on. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Lovell.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, all the comments aside, those are great comments, and I think also the thing that is important for me, what Commissioner Farr said about some people like myself come in with no previous elected experience, don't know the game, don't know the landscape, don't know if they're in left field, right field, so that's really helpful. The 2 things I remember coming on board were, one is every day felt like you were sucking on a fire hose. That was the coin phrase of all the new commissioners in County College. And the second thing was the very first meeting that we had as County College, where a county council came up to us and says, look, I want to tell you, first things first, there's 6 words I never want to hear you say as an elected official. Do you know who I am? And so that little bit of mentorship stuck with me all of the times that I've been a county commissioner, because certainly I drive probably a little faster than some on the freeway, and so I've rehearsed that speech in my head if I get a ticket and that sort of thing. But I think what is most interesting about this great work that you've done is this mentorship component. Because I felt like as an onboarded new commissioner, that was a real missing step for me, because what you got sometimes was ideological input, political input, you know, emotional input. There wasn't anything that was really grounded like, okay, this is how the organization works, this is how you get something done, these are the people that would help you get that done. If you partner with them, don't tick off this person or that person. That sort of mentorship, I think, would be super valuable, and I'm really interested in hearing more about what that looks like, who those people are, how the timeline of that happens. Because, you know, like Commissioner Trieger said too as well, I mean, here, you know, I stepped onto the board on first week of January, and all of a sudden I'm learning a budget page document that's this thick. And to try to find information about that, obviously, is to go ask Christine Moody, but she's trying to put the budget together. County Administrator Mo Kreisky is trying to work with that, so their time is fairly limited on what they can do. So that mentorship component is a really interesting component that I'd like to know more about. So that's where I'm coming from. So thank you for allowing that to come in to the play, and that I think that's going to be a really helpful issue that helps us be better.
Vice Chair?
I would have to concur. I think this, from all of the things that my colleagues mentioned, it's fabulous that we have this complete package for people, and the mentorship also intrigued me as well. In college, they have tried to do paired mentorships, not always successfully, and it was geared towards the large subjects that we engage on, but it's a little different than having a mentorship here within the office to help navigate the job on the ground in administration and meeting with constituents and things like that. So I would be interested in knowing how that evolves, learning from what worked and what didn't work on mentorships in county college. I think often that was issue with distance, because you're usually paired with another commissioner in another part of the state, and sometimes you click and it works, and sometimes it doesn't quite work. So I am intrigued on how those could interact here.
Yeah. Well, I just love that we're having this conversation and we're saying we know we could do better, because as Commissioner Lovell said, yeah, coming on, and I did have elected experience, and it's a lot. I mean, the meetings and stuff are different, but they're meetings and you know how to operate them. But it's funny to hear the mentorship come up. I hadn't really thought about that, but that's a huge part of what it would be like. You know, just how does the county work? I mean, you're being told, well, you can't talk to them for 15 minutes. Well, what do you mean? I just saw a commissioner talk to this person for an hour. Well, sometimes you can, but if you're working on, you know, I mean, that kind of stuff is really confusing to a commissioner that's starting, or talk about all the different committees. Well, how do you get this resolved when you're in your head, you're thinking, well, I can't take that staff's time because they're busy, and that staff's time because they're busy. We don't have dedicated staff. We don't have an assistant that we go to. And I think that stuff would be very helpful to know. These are your people you can lean on. These are the ones that will talk you through the process, walk you through the process. This is kind of how this committee works. This committee works. This is your go-to person for that. Because otherwise, you spend the first 3 months learning this stuff, and you're not effective. You know, when we started, you had 2 commissioners that had 0 time under the belt. We had 2 years that was onboarded during COVID, and then we had 4 years. I mean, that was a new board. There was a lot going on right there. So I think I'm just really glad we're having this conversation, because I do think we can do better, and I think we can. Well, Judy's the one that was my go-to. I was thinking, so that's 16 years of onboarding Judy's got. And that was, you know, if it wasn't for probably Judy and Tanya and helping, it would have been really, really hard. So I don't know. I like the ideas of the mentorship and the people that we can lean on and really talk to. I think it'd be very helpful. This is great. I'm really excited for this stuff. So, Commissioner Farr.
Just a point I'll make of that is previous elected experience is good, but it really doesn't prepare you to be a county commissioner.
Yeah.
It really does not. I was in county for 10 years, and I was at ground zero when I came on board here.
Right.
You know, so this is very different than any kind of other elected official work. It's the best, by the way. It is the best, the most productive, the most effective, and the most directly in service to the people we serve. But you know, just because we had previous elected official didn't prepare us for this job. You know, Gary Williams was the mayor of Cottage Grove for years. Wasn't prepared. We have another mayor coming on board in January. I guarantee you, he's not prepared.
Great point. Yes.
Thank you all for your feedback, Chair and Commissioners. I think one thing that we didn't mention that I think, you know, I heard from most of you is, we call it out in the memo, but just highlighting this onboarding staff too. So it's really a team effort. It's not just the one person, but like who can you go to and know where you can go. And it's the chief of staff role, Tanya, Laura, and really identify those. So if you have questions or, you know, one person can relay and it's really that team effort. And then I appreciate the comments around committees and where you all could help us figure out some of the timing, because I think, you know, what we want to try to do is give you the best tools to succeed day one. And so things laid out like, you know, going down to Harris Hall if you're a brand new commissioner, walking through, you know, Robert's Rules of Order. Here's what to expect in the first meeting. You're going to have a budget document and conversations about committees that very first day. So we've tried to put that committee work and explanations on the website and give that to you, but maybe it is a conversation about timing and when that discussion might happen at the commissioner level. So appreciate your feedback and good input, and we'll keep it going as a living document.
Yeah, we appreciate the work. That's important. Okay, thank you very much. Next up is 6B, consideration of 2 economic development tools for rural Lane County. Coming to the table.
What's usually behind the scenes.
Good point.
Maybe gets to see the whole shebang.
Thank you, Jessica. Good morning, Chair Seneca, Vice Chair, Commissioners, members of the public watching. My name is Jason Harris. I'm Lane County's Community Economic Development Manager. I am joined today with Samantha Roberts, our Community Economic Development Analyst, and Tanaz Mogadash, our Community Economic Development Summer Intern, U of O graduate student in public policy. We are excited to present to the board 2 economic development tools to encourage business investment in rural Lane County and unincorporated community of Goshen. The goal of the presentation today is to provide the board an overview of these 2 property tax exemption programs, what projects qualify, the benefits provided, and the process of formal designation for the board's consideration, feedback, questions, and direction. So to set the table, our economic development strategy is grounded in the reality that economic development, Oregon's economy, is really at a critical crossroads. We are seeing a decline in business activity, negative business environment sentiments, low business rankings as a state, and we're seeing the governor and the state begin to address these issues. As such, in response to the challenges, the governor established a set of economic goals set forth in the Oregon's Prosperity Roadmap. That document was attached to the staff memo. That informed the Prosperity Council's work and their recommendations to align the work of state agencies to address these economic headwinds. The roadmap also led to the initial legislation with the adoption of House Bill 4084 in the 2026 legislative session, which provided substantive benefits to the state's enterprise zones program that you'll hear about today. Lane County's community economic development work is informed by our regional economic development district's comprehensive economic development strategy, which emphasizes economic development initiatives to support rural vitality. And so the 2 programs today are really to address that initiative. And then locally, we have the enterprise zone programs, 7 enterprise zones throughout the county, but they're all sponsored by a city within those jurisdictions. And so as such, the planning effort for the Goshen Region Employment and Transition Plan is really left unattended. As you'll hear in the presentation further, the Goshen area was part of the Springfield Enterprise Zone. However, when Springfield had the redesignation of their enterprise zone in 2021, they were deemed an urban enterprise zone and had a more restricted geographic area. And at that point, Goshen was no longer served. So again, just a brief introduction. Tanaz will speak to the Rural Renewable Energy Development Zone. This program works like enterprise zones, but it's specifically geared to support renewable energy projects in rural areas.
And then Samantha will provide an overview of the enterprise zone program updates that were established in House Bill 4084 that I referenced, as well as highlight the enterprise zones that we do have in the county. And I'll conclude with highlighting the opportunity of enterprise zone for Goshen area and how it could encourage business investment in that area, as well as the next steps that we're making recommendations. So with that, I will turn it over to Naz.
Thank you, Jason. So yes, I'll give an overview of the Rural Renewable Energy Development Program, or known as RED, and its benefits. So this program provides a property tax exemption for renewable energy projects in communities outside of our metro area. So as stated in the slide, the projects must harness sources of renewable energy or work with alternative energy or power systems. Many renewable energy projects are large, dispersed, or located in rural areas where amending an existing enterprise zone boundary can be pretty impractical. So RED allows these projects to qualify without those boundary changes, and this creates and stimulates jobs and economic activity for rural communities. So the Rural Renewable Energy Development Program operates like a standard enterprise zone with a project investment cap in its 10-year designation. So it's important to note that establishing this red zone does not impact any zoning or overlays that currently exist in the county. The red zones have been adopted by 13 counties and 1 city in Oregon, including Clackamas and Deschutes County as well. RED also aligns with our county goals, especially vibrant communities, by prioritizing economic vitality and strengthening the local economy by expanding job opportunities. RED also aligns with our climate action plan. It's investing in energy efficiency and on the regional scale with our comprehensive economic development strategy by creating new and expanding industries in renewable energy. So RED designation is fairly simple. It requires a notice to our 32 rural taxing districts outside the metro area, which will just inform them about our effort to adopt this program. Then the board would adopt an authorizing resolution of establishment, which will then be submitted to Business Oregon with a designation form application. I'll pass it off to Samantha, who will speak on enterprise zones.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you to Naz. I appreciate that. So in addition to consideration of the Rural Renewable Energy Development Zone, Lane County CED staff today bring to the board's consideration a new enterprise zone to which Jason will speak momentarily. As a quick refresher, however, for the board and general public, I'll cover a few highlights about Oregon's enterprise zone program. Enterprise zones are one of Oregon's longest standing business development tools, established in 1985 and given authority by Oregon Revised Statute and Oregon Administrative Rule. The goal of the Enterprise Zone program is to incentivize new business investments that drive job creation, wage growth, and job retention. Qualifying investments include new buildings, building renovations or expansions, and new equipment and machinery, qualifying equipment and machinery. Qualified businesses have historically included manufacturing, non-retail, call centers, headquarters, processing, or wholesale warehousing businesses. Businesses who qualify may receive a standard 3-year exemption. All existing taxes currently assessed remain in full effect. So it's important to recognize that the exemption is on new qualifying investments, not all property taxes associated with that business. Extended exemptions are authorized by ORS under certain conditions. These include a written agreement between the qualifying business and zone sponsors, a school support fee payment, and conditional requirements, which may include capital investment thresholds, wage requirements, and alignment with regional goals. So as Jason alluded, this past legislative session, House Bill 84 introduced pretty substantive updates to quite a few economic development programs within the state of Oregon, and Oregon's Enterprise Zone program was one of those. These changes aimed to increase flexibility of use for this program and provide more incentive for business investment to catalyze wage growth, job retention, and meeting local economic development needs. For sake of time, we will not go into these in depth. However, these are outlined in more detail in the staff memo that you received prior to today's presentation. And of course, as always, we're happy to answer questions at the conclusion of the presentation. I do want to call out really quickly, however, one of the 4 main updates to enterprise zone statutes included the local area and economic development need criteria. This particular section replaces the previous economic hardship criteria that zone sponsors needed to demonstrate during the designation process, and replaces it with establishing a local area, which is the area that is impacted by the establishment of the enterprise zone, and which is impacted by economic development need criteria, which are selected among several that statute now outlines. I mention this because Jason will come back to this shortly during our conversation around a potential enterprise zone in Goshen and what that might mean. All right, and lastly, we have 7 current enterprise zones in operation in Lane County. Those you see on this slide with an asterisk are those for which Lane County is currently a co-sponsor. So you can see we're quite active in Lane County supporting businesses that are seeking to make these investments. And at this point, I'll pass this back over to Jason, who will discuss how this program may be applied to a new zone in the Goshen area and what those steps might look like.
Thank you, Samantha. So just to highlight the updates to Enterprise Zone program, the state legislature really intended to effectively lower the bar, open the tent, as it were, to really encourage small business to consider this program. The prior requirements, criteria were generally aimed at larger capital investment, larger business industry. So the opportunity really presents itself. As I mentioned earlier, Goshen area was part of the Springfield Enterprise Zone up until 2021. At that designation period, Springfield pulled back, had a smaller geographic area they could represent in their zone. So we lost Goshen area opportunity. As we know, Goshen has very significant, it is our largest concentration of industrial land in unincorporated Lane County. You'll see a zoning map here in just a moment that really illustrates that. As we know, we've had long-standing efforts to really amplify the business opportunity, the industrial development opportunities of the Goshen area. So really looking to bring alignment not only to our local Goshen Great Area Plan, but really the regional and state initiatives that were highlighted earlier. The local area need, similarly, is now a little more wide of discretion. We can be supporting industry-driven innovation, and we have 2 active sawmills, as we're seeing across the state, in particular our area. Mass timber innovation in the wood products is really a driving focus of opportunity. We've seen prior sawmills making investments in operations and efficiencies. We also know the benefits of Goshen, right? It has really superior transportation access with the active north-south rail line, highways in all directions, Highway 99, 58, Interstate 5. The district is served with a healthy, strong water district. We have fiber optics, natural gas access. We're working on extending the Metro regional wastewater system to the area, and it's obviously served by the adjacency to the Metro area workforce. So this is a zoning map, but it is showing us multiple aspects. So one, the dark heavy green area, without turning all the, is the proposed Goshen area. So Goshen is really this Highway 99, Interstate 5 triangle intersection. We can see that dark blue is our heavy industrial, general industrial zone. Light blue is the light industrial. And then the red is rural industrial, kind of here on the I-5 and Highway 58 corridor. So what we're proposing is a discrete enterprise zone to serve Goshen, not exclusively Goshen. As you see, we pick up the 30th Avenue Gateway and the entry into Highway 58. We're just off screen picking up the kind of the last section of general industrial, light industrial zone area. This is about a 2 square mile industrial zone area or enterprise zone area. The statute gives us greater geographic area but we have opportunity in the future to extend, expand if needed. Statute allows for that. We're picking up the greatest concentration of industrial land opportunity and business industry activity in this proposed zone area. And then, I was speaking along the lines as I was showing that, but just, huge amount of benefit and opportunity to really encourage business investment and provide an economic tool that's relatively accessible in most of our urban and or incorporated areas throughout the county. This area, unincorporated, is not served, and that is what we're proposing with this program. And it can address a wide range of needs and really the pending opportunity of business innovation and continued investment. In this proposed designation of area, the county would be the sole sponsor of this, and we would be looking to, again, support the businesses in that zone through the creation of this enterprise zone program. So as we consider not just the enterprise zone program, the board has discretion of consideration. So the boundary area is just proposed. I highlighted the opportunity for greater area expansion. We did evaluate the Jasper, the Trent areas, the kind of north side of Cresswell, having pockets of industrial and commercial, but we just don't have the concentration that we have in Goshen. So we're not necessarily exclusionary. We always have opportunity to extend the boundary if there is business investment opportunity, but we thought we would start with a more discrete proposed area. But again, boundary area is open for consideration. Also, for awareness, when an enterprise zone is established under state statute, there are two uses that can be designated. One is e-commerce. We have an e-commerce zone designation in the West Eugene enterprise zone that allows for kind of retail distribution, but also, interesting enough, kind of the supply chain of semiconductor parts and suppliers are also fall within that designation. So we would be recommending an e-commerce designation as a part of the formal designation. Similarly, hotel, motel, resort businesses need to be incorporated in the designation as eligible at time of designation, recognized in the composition of business activity and adjacency to the freeway and whatnot. We're not probably recommending hotel, motel being incorporated as a eligible use. And then as Samantha highlighted, the legislature expanded the range of possibilities under the new legislation that will allow for prior ineligible business activity. Principally, the focus was manufacturing, kind of traded sector, but the legislature, I think, was recognizing, trying to provide even opportunity for a wide range of business. So research and development types of business activity, healthcare, childcare, construction, professional services, all can be recognized as eligible in either two manners, either a pilot program of which there's kind of a discrete goal and initiative based upon some initiatives, alignment with strategy, and or one-off waiver process. Neither of those necessarily need to be established at designation. These could come along just as business opportunities present themselves or anytime during that 10-year designation period. And then lastly, the legislature I think was recognizing enterprise zone programs, a short-term limited program, three years is a standard program. You can go up to 5 years, meeting some additional performance metrics. The legislature raised that bar of opportunity, allowing districts to extend up to 10 years, 6 to 10 years of enterprise zone exemption allowed. And again, that is, that can either be at designation or along during the term and tenure. And so those are points for consideration, feedback, and direction as the board considers a Goshen enterprise zone. And again, this is just for feedback. We can have additional work sessions to fully discuss this. And then just lastly, the steps. So Goshen is a bit more involved in establishment than a RED program, which is really notice and then just resolution. We would be having a little bit more documentation needing to gather to meet the statutory requirements of local area need and economic development criteria to be established. There's a consultation with Business Oregon to present those materials and get kind of initial support prior to issuing notice and consultation the taxing districts within the Goshen area, and then we would work with the local school district to adopt a school support fee. I believe the board's seen a couple of our districts establish that over the past year or so. That's was in prior statute. In this case, that would be the Springfield School District, which has already adopted a school support fee for the Springfield Enterprise Zone. So this would be kind of a secondary action for a Goshen Enterprise Zone if the board was supported. And then ultimately, this would be packaged as a resolution of establishment for board's consideration. So with that, we really bring conclusion, opportunity for questions on either of these programs, any feedback and direction, and we're excited to present this and seek your input.
Absolutely. Commissioner Trigger.
Thank you for the presentation. There's going to be so much more to come. That substantive comment and whatnot will come later, but just one clarifying question, maybe I just misheard. When you said hotel motel use could be allowed, but you're recommending not, why would we limit if it's allowable?
That's a great question. I was Chair, Commissioner, in response to the range of those two uses for designation, just highlighting one, the statutory requirement of process. I balanced the perspective of incorporating uses, whether, and there is alignment. Our recently master destination master plan that was adopted by Traveling County had a goal of encouraging more hotel resort development, especially in our rural areas. So staff is definitely open to that. I think the current configuration, as you saw, really sited along Interstate 5, Highway 99, Highway 58. So initial pass of perspective is maybe not reasonable as an expectation. However, on the flip side, we've got a lot of creative minds out there, and there could be some really unique properties that have the setback and distance that maybe some of those transportation systems are maybe less of a concern. So staff isn't adverse, was just trying to find a balance.
Great, yeah, and so I guess my part B to that is if somebody who that's what their business is thinks it's a good site, why wouldn't we, take their word for it and let them explore it? And so the corollary too is once we establish whatever the parameters are, does it become a sort of we still get to say yes or no, or is it like if you meet the criteria, we have no say over whether you go in? There's certain kinds of developments happening, and of course lots of controversy, for example, about data centers. Do we still have ultimate ability to say yes or no to a specific proposal within the zone? Or is it sort of first come, first serve? If you check all the boxes, you get to do it. How does that work? What kind of discernment do we have?
Certainly, Chair, Commissioner, in response to kind of the board discretion, there are, I guess I might describe kind of layers of enterprise zones. So under a standard enterprise zone just being 3 years, if an applicant meets the statutory conditions and the program criteria, they would be eligible. Obviously, there's due diligence to be evaluated and met, and Business Oregon also evaluates applications as well. In that context, that would be if the use is consistent to the establishment, then that would be an authorized administrative approval. However, any term beyond the standard 3 years, so if they were looking for the extended enterprise zone up to 5 years, or if we established even a longer enterprise, those are discretionary actions that the board has to authorize. And so there is an opportunity for board consideration for that extended term of those applications.
Great. I imagine there'll be other opportunity to weigh in, so I'll maybe have a meeting with you to get a little more of my head wrapped around before we dig into the next layer. And then the last thing is I appreciate seeing there was a note about wages, requirements for wages, and it said something about they have to be comparable to county, I forget what the slide said. County, I didn't know what that referred to, what that meant, and there's nothing about new job creation or job retention, right? Just the reference to wages. So if you could just clarify what that.
Certainly. So under current, so statute is current. So the new legislation updated aspects that we gave generalized highlights. There were existing and still existing criteria of job creation of enterprise zone programs, of which, again, standard is 10% employment increase or one job. If you're looking for extended, so something beyond 3 years, there has to have additional job criteria and the requirements of those job criteria meeting average county wage. And then it's a suggestion by Business Oregon if a sponsor, government sponsor entity was considering longer term enterprise zones, so something maybe even beyond 5 years, of establishing internal policy of what that investment, job creation, other conditions may be. Maybe conversely, for perspective, I might highlight that that not all enterprise zones, I think, maybe have the same expectations. So for instance, as I made that earlier reference, as we reflect back to the current enterprise zones, all of the current enterprise zones are within, the majority of their boundaries within a city UGB. Where there's a county co-sponsor, 4 of the 7, a portion of the enterprise zone extends outside of that UGB, thus the county would be involved. For instance, the Cottage Grove or the South Lane Enterprise Zone, which is Crestwell and Cottage Grove, portions of that enterprise zone in Cottage Grove extend outside the UGB, for instance, picking up the warehouse or sawmill. So for instance, in that instance, and if we recall back 2 years ago, they sought to extend it up to 5 years and had both those requirements, right, of higher wage, et cetera. So in the context of wage, those statutory requirements still exist. And then we have discretion if the zone sponsor, the board, had interest in allowing for greater length of time, we would establish those internal policies. And again, those could either be policies as absolutes to be met or to give guidance, because there could be, and we've been having lots of conversation, there may be goals, for instance, in our rural and incorporated area where we're wanting to encourage business services, for instance, maybe even convenience stores that normally would not be considered as an economic incentive, yet we're trying to drive goods and services to support our rural communities and have that access and adjacency. So I think there's a balance of kind of support and intent, and I think as we would think about this program going forward for the Goshen area, trying to find that, and maybe there's a difference of industry incentive, and maybe there's higher bars of establishment and amount of investment, and then maybe neighborhood serving, community serving uses and business activity that has a different set of performance requirements.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Farr.
Thanks, Chair. Enterprise zones, here we go again. Samantha, you're the third Roberts I've worked with on enterprise zone. Jack Roberts when he was a county commissioner and later, and then Matt Roberts on West Eugene, and then now you. And it's all, every time it gets better. Don't tell Jack. But that being said, this is a critical area, and we've identified it quite some time ago as because of the transportation possibilities there and the existing transportation facilities. Just a couple of things I wanted to point out. This is a wonderful presentation. Tanash, thank you very much. You did a good job on that. Very well done. In fact, I have your presentation right here, and I'm going to keep it in my pocket and use it from time to time. Thank you. But two things. One is Commissioner Krieger asked about why exclude hotels. And I'm looking at Commissioner Lovall, who works with Travel Lane County extensively. And you know that we don't have anywhere near enough room inside of our urban growth boundaries for the hotels that we need for the future travel requirements. And you hear about it all the time. And so interesting that it seems like it's a long way from Autzen Stadium, for instance, but it's not. If you look at how far people travel from their hotel to watch a game, watch UCLA play at the Rose Bowl, it's really inches away. And so, keeping that line open for understanding that we don't have public transportation down there and that would be a lot of things go into that. But I think you're covered on that. The other thing that we always run afoul of, and that is a public process. And afoul is not the right word, but it becomes a stumbling block where people who have property adjacent say, wait a second, nobody talked to me about this. I'm presuming we have an extensive public process involved that involved the adjacent property owners, adjacent landowners. I'm not going to suggest how you do that, but I know that you have that in place. And bearing in mind that quite often, the best laid plans are derailed at the last moment. Sometimes it's a transportation bridge that would have eased the problems 28 years ago of Beltline Road, but the local folks stopped it at the last moment. And just being ahead of that curve, making sure that people are involved. And I know you're there on that, but just a precaution that people do care about what's adjacent to them. After we bought our property on Sugar Pine Circle years ago, darn it, the city built a runway for their airport that went right over our house. Nobody checked with me on that, but it was, it had been on the books for a long time. And again, to not run afoul, not be stumbled, find a stumbling block with the local folks who really do have a vested interest in what occurs there.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Samantha, for being the third Roberts involved in Enterprise Hunson. Again, better every time.
Commissioner Lovell.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, Josh, this is wonderful. I think that anything that we're thinking about the future for expanding and helping people and businesses to attract themselves to Lane County is a step in the right direction. To Commissioner Trigger's point, though, if you look at the map back up there, and part of that loop goes up to 30th Street exit, we even forgot to talk about Lane Community College and the connection a hotel property might have to that. I mean, there are Travel counties now involved in building a large pickleball arena on that, so I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people, I'm not going to say my age because I don't want to admit I'm a pickleball fan, but a lot of those folks could be there, and the proximity to staying there could work, and future boards, as you said, Jason, could make arrangements and decide loopholes that could attract something there. Now, the only question now is, there's the shameless plug I must have, that we need a winter sports arena, because in the wintertime, unless that hotel draws a lot of pickleball players, it's going to be scaled back. So that's a question. I've got a couple of questions with regard to where all this is located, and it's located in a great spot. I mean, the transition of transportation, highways, available property, all of it fits all the right boxes. But I'm wondering, you mentioned too, Jason, about the wastewater connection, and we all know that's the leachate line connection to MWMC and all of that. And I'm wondering if there's a sizable investment in a business that wants to come there, does that generate that project, or does it require an investment in that project to be maybe laid aside by a business that may come there for a future expansion of that wastewater line? Because let's say a business comes there and they're going to put 250 people to work. That's not going to be an applicable septic system that's going to support that. So how are we going to get that business shoehorned in there when the infrastructure is not quite there yet? Has the legislature given us some parameters or grant money or some hopes that we could bridge those two gaps together?
Yes, Chair, Commissioner, in response maybe to the larger question of state funding, status of MWMC, extension efforts, Metropolitan Wastewater Management Corporation, we're actively working with our two rural city jurisdictions, Junction City and Crosswell, in coordination with MWMC staff, right, to complete the technical studies to inform. It's a two-step process, right, of getting the authorization on the Metro Plan amendment, kind of the land use approval, and then concurrently finalizing design of actual extension. So general status update on the work effort to maybe respond directly to the question of timing, of business investment, lack of an urban wastewater system. Yes, that is a real challenge. That being said, there's greater opportunity working with the existing businesses in Goshen. As I highlighted, we have 3 major industrial operations, and then we have a wide range of kind of smaller commercial industrial users. 2 major sawmills in operation have very little wastewater byproduct. One of those is already starting to make investment in mass timber, so there's pending opportunity. And I might as go as far as make a projection. It is shown in the proposed boundary area, that highlighted in green. You will see a brownish colored site. This is, I believe it's EFU zone, but the adjacent sawmill operation owns that site. It's a 106-acre site. And they've initiated interest in conversation with land management about a rezoning of that property to combine with their existing common ownership. And so we're positioning for future opportunity if that rezoning does proceed, of supporting the potential and wood product expansion of that operation to that site, and really providing a tool there. And then just south to the, in that kind of lower section of Goshen, there's a major metal recycling business that has also been exploring innovation and evaluating the possibilities of electric vehicle battery recycling. And so I see the Goshen Enterprise Zone supporting more business, existing business investment that are not served by, you know, an urban wastewater system, and looking to make that capital investment or that facility investment and having a resource to support that. There is infill and new development opportunities that may require, you know, major infrastructure of MWMC wastewater system. And as that area is served in the future, there's, you know, great hope and a possibility that would really kind of open more opportunities going forward. So I hopefully that answers the question of context of, you know, without, you know, an urban wastewater system operation today, does that stymie business investment? And you just heard my description to that.
Yeah, no, the focus on the existing business in there also answers my next question about the timeline. You know, if we're going to talk about wastewater and infrastructure improvements, and we're talking about a 3 to 5 to maybe a 10-year tax abatement, what's the runway space that we have of when we designate this an enterprise zone until it expires, that people can't be a part of that enterprise zone anymore? So if we're working primarily with existing businesses there, that tells us that we're going to hit the ground running. So I appreciate that. So the next question onto that is, as you know, just last week we, as a board, passed a zoning amendment change for a site to locate the Clean Lane project on. So with that context, are we also looking at the broader location of this green enterprise zone, that there's any other zoning challenges that may, you know, raise its ugly head in those zones that maybe we should take a look at the same time to help us speed this up?
Chair, Commissioner, interesting question. I'll make this generalized statement, and then as I state that, I'll be thinking of a more specific response to the question. So neither of these programs would have any impact, any adjustment, or any change to county zoning overlays or anything. These are just you know, statutory economic tools that provide a property tax exemption for qualified business and qualified investment. That being said, we're you know, thinking long term. These programs are both 10 years in term. In the context of rural renewable energy, you know, that could take, the project could be a wide range, right? It could be solar, hydro, could even be biomass gen. It is difficult to anticipate just under that program, you know, what challenges a business may face in trying to site a project. And I would just say that in that context, you know, each project will be each project, right? And they'll need to work through, you know, their site issues and their zoning issues, et cetera. And maybe not dissimilarly, Goshen, it's just an economic tool overlay for a geographic area that could be applied. We will do deeper thinking, I think, to the question at hand as we're evaluating the existing businesses in the area, the potential innovation that those businesses could be making investment are, and maybe this is a two-part conversation, really picking up on Commissioner Farr's emphasis of public process. Maybe while we're conducting outreach to inform, solicit feedback, input on potential enterprise zone ideas, et cetera, we could be also asking, is there anything in the context of existing zoning that they have issue with, so that as we work through this, we could be highlighting, you know, concerns, thoughts, recommendations that may be coming from existing property owners as if we're looking to make adjustments in this area. Maybe lastly, to give kind of full scope, and unfortunately I didn't bring a a map showing, but if we span out to pick up a larger geographic area, I reference, if we continue down I-5, the Cresswell city limits are just the Cresswell city limits, of which they have an enterprise zone, and it stays within their city limits. But just adjacent to the north side of Cresswell are a series of industrial and commercial properties along Highway 99 that we've thought about extending and picking up. And it's maybe a variation of the question. When you look at that zoning map, they're surrounding those properties is rural residential. And so, trying to find this interesting balance, I did consult with Cresswell Planning to kind of evaluate. They were, even though that's not their jurisdiction, it's county area, but it's adjacent. We wanted to be respectful and gather their feedback and input. They really didn't have a strong opinion whether an enterprise zone to their northern boundary. They did share and express, just in the case of Cresswell, that they've considered urban growth boundary expansion. They didn't receive a lot of input or interest from northern properties adjacent to their city limits, and we're probably evaluating going south or southwest for potential expansion. Similarly, if we look to the east side of I-5 in that corridor, we have the landfill, Short Mountain, and it is county owned, but just being county owned in itself is just property, right? And it's zoned for what it's zoned for. But we've also contemplated, well, if the enterprise zone covered a portion of that, and if there was new business investment opportunities that could be co-sited and would be beneficial to landfill, would this be a potential tool there? And then lastly, we've looked at this extension. There's, as you can see, just in this kind of South Glenwood area, it's exclusive farm with a mix of rural residential. So we're really just picking up that primary commercial. But if we extend down Highway 58 towards Trent and Jasper, going just off of Highway 58, there are pockets. And so I'd be interested in kind of in this outreach of to property owners, kind of inquiring of interest and opportunities. We took a careful evaluation of looking at not only the zoning, but the property size, the existing uses. And for the most part, those are developed properties. And so this would be really as much of really trying to anticipate and project what redevelopment or infill might be, because that's probably what would be envisioned on some of those properties. Not, they're not greenfields, or there'd be new development. So how that would be in the mix is for consideration as well.
Sorry, 2 final questions, Jerry. Do we have time? How are we doing?
We are tight on time, very tight.
Just, you mentioned that the fiber optics, is that needs improvement, or is that something that maybe there's some Oregon broadband money left over that could help with this?
No,
Or are we
fiber
good?
optics well served.
Okay.
To service providers.
Last question is this, according to, or reference to Commissioner Trigger's point about employment zone. Great idea. This is how it's bit in Springfield. Let me tell you one example that we had. The Egan Warming Center was looking for a permanent site. I hooked up the Egan Warming Center with a landlord and a piece of property that would have well suited them. They could have had a permanent spot. It was greatly located between both urban centers. It would have been accessible, the bus line, all the boxes checked. They didn't meet the employment standard. Kicked them out. Now, that would have been a really good, useful tool for the community in there, but because of the employment restriction on numbers and the inflexibility of that, it I think jettisoned a really good idea that would help the community. So I want to caution us when we go forward on this investment enterprise zone, that the employment numbers don't inadvertently bite us in the behind. So thank you.
Could I touch on that really fast? There was a provision that was included for alternative performance measures that can be applied for at the time of application that include a flexible hiring timeline or alternative performance measures. So that is something that statute did look at in 4084.
Sure.
Thank you. Most of my questions have been answered through other comments, so I appreciate this. We've had a good success record with these enterprise zones, so I'm hoping that this will spur more economic development in the area. I'm particularly interested in more jobs, good paying jobs with benefits. Specifically, I think that is important to this kind of investment, but otherwise I think it creates a good amount of opportunity. Infrastructure is still, as we've been talking about, the crux of the issue for development in Goshen. And it will remain so until we get the leachate pipeline through that area. But in the meantime, I'm pleased that we might be able to help spur some growth with some current existing businesses, but would love to see more jobs to the area, all while completely understanding that rural communities like to stay rural. They don't like fast growth in their areas. So we just have to measure the opportunity with the will of the local residents. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Yeah, great presentation. Things are exciting, and I can't wait for further communications on it.
Thank you. Chair, Commissioners, appreciate it.
Good work. County Administrator, do you have any announcements for us?
Do you want me to do that now, or would you like me to hold?
If you're a couple of minutes, we can squeeze it in.
I think I just have two quick updates. First, the board may recall that in November of 2025, we provided some emergency funding, $200,000 for community organizations to support the response to changes, reductions in federal food assistance, as well as families impacted by federal immigration action here in our local community. And of course, we track how these funds are spent. And so I wanted to provide just a brief update for the board on that. We provided $100,000 of that funding to Food for Lane County to support changes in reductions in SNAP benefits. And that funding helped to support 104,682 pounds of food that were purchased using Lane County grant funds. There was about between 20 to 35,000 pounds per month that was purchased in March, April, May, and June to help support families in our community. That includes, and so in addition to other services that Food for Lane County provides, over 94,000 people were served at various partner agencies through Food for Lane County just in March alone, 102,000 in April, 99,000 in May, 90,000 in June. Households, that's about 12,000 per month, households at public pantries. And then the meals served at public meal sites ranged from 36,000 to 42,000 per month from Food for Lane County. Additionally, we provided emergency funding to families that were affected by immigration, federal immigration action on local families. And so that funding was provided both to Catholic Community Services and Plaza de Nuestra Comunidad. So just a few numbers there. Direct assistance from Catholic Community Services, 14 households with a family member that was detained by ICE. 13 households received rent assistance, 10 households received utility assistance, and 11 households received food assistance. That was from Catholic Community Services. And then Plaza de Nuestra Comunidad supported 10 households in Eugene, 1 household in Springfield, and 2 households outside of the Eugene and Springfield areas. 8 households were provided $28,000 in housing assistance. 10 households were provided over $6,000 in utility assistance, and over 11 households were provided $6,500 in food assistance from Plaza. So I just wanted to provide that brief update for the board on the emergency assistance. Oftentimes we invest in ongoing programs and initiatives. We build facilities. We launch programs like mobile crisis and deflection. Other times, we try to do really rapid, quick response to emergent needs in the community. And this was an example of that, where we saw a need, we heard from the community. We knew that the county wasn't in a position to distribute those funds, so we worked with our established nonprofit organizations to provide those funds, and they engage with those families directly. Second thing, Commissioners, I'll just share is that we're going through a couple of recruitments. We are nearing the end of a recruitment for our new Community Justice and Rehabilitation Services Director position. And so we haven't landed on a final decision there, but we are moving in that process. And then I'll just flag for you that in the coming weeks, we will be posting our position, our director position for Public Works, and we will be doing a national search for that. That position, I'll keep you posted as we move forward with those. That's all.
Okay, excellent. Any questions for the county administrator?
Tons of them.
Okay, well, they can wait. Board of County Commissioners will now meet in one executive session. The session is to consider information or records that are exempt by law from public inspection and is held pursuant to ORS 192-6602F, which allows the Board of Commissioners to meet in executive session for the purpose listed. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are precluded from attending. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. Members of the news media are not allowed to tape, video record, or otherwise record an executive session. Verbatim notes are prohibited. No decision may be made in executive session. The board will return to regular session immediately following the executive session here in the BCC conference room. We will reconvene at 10:57. We'll give Jessica 5 minutes to get us lined up. Thank you. reconvene the Lane County Board of Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, August 25th. It's 11:34, and we're here in the BCC conference room. Next up, we have Order 2608-2505, and the matter of amending the county administrator's employment agreement. Ms. Holmes.
Chair, Commissioners, I think it's still good morning. A little bit left. So we are here this morning in regards to amending County Administrator Mokra Heiske's employment agreement. We have a board packet in front of you. That agreement is attached. You've had an opportunity to review that. And I think before I turn it over to you, Chair, for discussion, I wanted to see if County Administrator Mokra Heiske had anything that he would like to add.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair, Commissioners. Just a few comments. Over the past year, I've been weighing the right time for Lane County and for me to begin the process of transitioning to new leadership. After nearly 13 years in this role, I've decided that now is the right time to begin that process. I'm committed to continuing to serve through 2027, but I've made this decision now to ensure that we have a thoughtful, smooth, and inclusive transition with an eye towards long-term success for Lane County, our employees, and the people we serve. I came to Lane County in 2014, shortly after a period of disruption and instability. My commitment to the board, employees, and community at the time was that I would work with others to solve problems, to create long-term stability, to manage resources responsibly, and to provide the highest quality of services for our residents. We now have a workforce that is clear about our purpose to improve lives, and a culture in Lane County that reflects who we are as public servants, leading with passion to serve, driven to connect, and focus on solutions. When I reflect on the past 13 years, I'm reminded of the many challenges and opportunities that we have faced. You know, we love a good challenge and we'll never run away from it, but actually run towards the problem when things get hard. I think about our journey to a structurally balanced budget with stabilized services, innovative programs that establish best practices for others to follow, increased bond ratings that lower the cost to taxpayers, and healthiest employer rankings that make Lane County an employer of choice. I think about the thousands of units of new housing, new mobile crisis services, an innovative deflection program that reduces recidivism, tens of thousands of residents that have received health care from our health clinics. I think about the challenges of the pandemic era and the destruction of the Holiday Farm fire and other natural disasters, as well as the transformation of our organization and the rebuilding of our communities in the aftermath of those crises. More than anything, I think about the people, those that we serve with, those we partner with, and most importantly, the people that we serve. The people in Lane County, our employees, our partners, and our residents are simply the best. It has been and continues to be a great privilege to serve our community with all of you. I have immense gratitude for this board and the previous boards that have supported me and our staff teams all these years. I was recently informed that I'm currently the longest serving administrator in Oregon and the longest in Lane County's history for whatever that is worth. And it dawned on me that I've worked with a lot of dedicated elected officials over the past many years, including 11 county commissioners, 4 sheriffs, 3 district attorneys, 2 assessors, 3 governors, 3 Eugene mayors, 2 Springfield mayors, and the list goes on. On a personal note, what a joy and privilege it has been and continues to be to call Lane County home, and for Liz and I to raise our daughters in this community. They were 5 and 2 when we moved here. Now they're primed to graduate from high school. Lane County is our home, and we plan to keep it that way. Commissioners, again, my deep appreciation to you for supporting me and our staff. I'm not going anywhere, and I remain committed to our work in Lane County. In fact, we have a lot of work to do in the months ahead, and I commit to you that we will work hard to ensure a thoughtful, smooth, and inclusive transition over the next year and a half, continuing the work that we began 13 years ago to establish ongoing stability and set Lane County up for great progress in the years to come. Thank you, Chair and Commissioners.
Thank you. Well, to the board. We've got an order in front of us. Commissioner Farr.
I am prepared to make a motion.
Okay.
I move order 2608-2505 in the matter of amending the county administrator's employment agreement.
I will second.
We have a motion made by Commissioner Farr to approve order 2608-2505 in the matter of amending the county administrator's employment agreement, seconded by Vice Chair Buck. Discussion of the motion. Vice Chair.
I simply want to say thank you for all your years of service and appreciate the fact that you are having such a long transition lead time. You've been excellent to work with, and I look forward to working with you further.
To the board. See no more comment? Call for the vote. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Abstain.
Motion carries 4-1 with Commissioner Lovell abstained. Or 4-0. Commissioner Lovell abstained. Okay, thank you, everybody. We will try and be back in Harris Hall at 1:30 p.m. We're not certain if it'll be up and running, but if not, we will be here in the BCC conference room. Thank